you know, I've always known I wanted to be a criminologist, and maybe you're trying to ask yourself, you know, what is a criminologist? And I'll get to that later. But what started me on this path, and it was I was probably 13 years old. My father gave me his hardcover, you know, at that time, all these hardcover, moth-eaten, they were full of holes, this book on Sherlock Holmes. And I started reading it, and I just got fascinated. And it was really, that's what got me hooked. And I think ever since then, I've been reading, you know, I had this fascination with, you know, murder and criminals, and, you know, all I can tell you, I was always retelling them about some horrible mass murderer, Lizzie Borden, Jack the Ripper, you know, and then as I grew older, you know, I watched every television show, you know, Starsky and Hutch, and I fell in love with the actor. So he had this sweater, and I loved the sweater, and because I liked the actor, and I loved the television show so much. It was a police detective show. And I made my aunt knit me a sweater to look like that, you know, so I don't know where it's gone, so I said I'll try and knit it again for the 40th reunion, you know, a few more years to go. Serpico, The Godfather, I mean, all those books and movies on police shows. I read a lot, you know, Scott Turow, you know, just, you know, almost every police book, detective book that you know, was out, I would read. And then I just kind of lost interest after I got to college. But you know, I studied criminology. I worked more, I started getting very fascinated with prisons and the treatment of criminals, and what do you do with these people after they violated the law. You know, see, I've worn my that was where I focused my higher education on. I did criminology, you know, I studied the causes of crime, all of that, but I really became fascinated with penology and the treatment of offenders. And I worked in juvenile youth homes. I did, you know, I worked in community corrections for a while. But, you know, being in the U.S. and not really having been born and raised in the U.S., it's a little bit hard to identify with the difficulties that you know, American youth grow up with. And then I found myself, you know, after I sort of graduated, I came back to teach at the Chinese University at Robinson. And then I found myself in the year of 1990 in Indonesia. You know, in Indonesia at that time, the 1990s, there really wasn't anything to do in criminology. You know, there was no research. You know, it's kind of a developing economy. So that's when I actually went into finance, and I became a stockbroker. I joined HSBC Securities, and I went to Standard Chartered Securities, and then I went to a small Hong Kong boutique firm called Crosby Securities that was bought over by Societe Generale. So I did that for about 6 years. I did, you know, you know, investment bank research. I did corporate finance, and then of course we had the big banking crisis, and I got my golden parachute. So I got to leave. But all throughout then, I did a lot of due diligence work. You know, checking up on companies that wanted to go public or after they went public. And that's where I learned all about white-collar crime. You know, my background in criminology had been very traditional: rape, robbery, murder, homicide, you know, serious assault, theft, drug abuse, you know, you name it, I studied it. But I didn't know anything about white-collar crime. When I came to Indonesia, and they said, you know, HSBC said, you know, we could use someone like you, but, you know, you don't have a background, but what do you think? And I thought, you know what, I didn't even know the difference between a stock and a ball. Basically, a criminologist studies crime, okay? So we study crime, we study criminals, we study the criminal justice system to understand what causes people to do illegal acts and what can be done to capture criminals, control behavior, and prevent future criminality. So it's a big mouthful. We study why people do things, and then after they've done it, you know, if they've done it, how do we actually detect it, and then prevent it, and then what do you do with these people? That's really the challenge, is what do you do with these people? One of the very influential movies in my life was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. So when I was teaching at Chinese University of Hong Kong, I would show that film a lot in almost every of my classes. One of the classes I taught was called Deviant Behavior, because it's a lot of things that we see that we say it's abnormal or illegal, or, you know, it's a violation. You know, mental illness is just it's just something that is not, maybe it's not normal, but they're people nevertheless. And you know, we study human behavior, and really, if you see the movie, you'll realize there was very little difference between those inside the institution and outside. So that's basically what criminology is about. what I do in terms of, and I'll give you sort of a technical description of what I do on a day-to-day basis. So I manage the reporting of all the complaints that come to the World Bank. So we have a hotline. People report in and they say, oh, you know, I participated in this World Bank finance project in Nepal, the bidding was unfair, and I hear that, you know, the contract is already going to be awarded to this company, you know, so there's some collusion going on, or something like that. So we get about 42,000 communications in a year. So there's a small team of people that have to sort through all the junk and the rubbish and pick out, and we pick out about less than 1% of the 42,000 sort of communications we receive. We open up a file, we do a preliminary investigation, and if we decide that the complaint has merit, has credibility, you know, we think that we have got some evidence that we can actually go for it, we'll open up a case. And out of that, out of the 1% that we open up, the 42,000, we open about 20% of those. So in any given year, we do about 90 to 100 investigations. Okay, they're a team of six regional teams. So the World Bank divides the world into six regions: Africa, East Asia Pacific, Latin America, Caribbean, Middle East, North Africa, Europe, Central Asia, and South Asia. And so I manage that team, and I support the manager of operations and the administration of the unit, as well as oversee all the investigations that go on. And most of the investigations are in South Asia, Africa. Those are the two largest, you know, just geographically, the largest regions, so they tend to have the most cases. And then followed by East Asia, Europe, Central Asia, Latin America, Caribbean, and Middle East, North Africa are the smallest. So the 90 to 100 cases are spread out that way. I also coordinate internally and externally on operational issues. So internally with our internal audit department, with our controllers, with our operational staff, externally with the UN agencies, with USAID, AUSAID, you know, other law enforcement agencies around the world, and if we do cases together. I also provide training internally to World Bank staff, as well as externally to other anti-corruption agencies, to other law enforcement officials. I just, like I said, I teach regularly at the Hong Kong University Space. I just finished one yesterday, and I usually come in the spring and I teach institutional integrity. Okay, now why I do what I do, and this is really my passion, after I joined the World Bank. This is a picture of an incubator, a baby ball. Okay, it's supposed to be new. It was purchased as new. Okay, but you can see, you know, the contract was paid in full. The unit accepted the delivery of this equipment without, you know, that didn't even meet the specifications of the contract. You know, it was, you know, you can see it's just obviously substandard, below grade. And if you're going to put your newborn baby there, you know, you'd probably, you know, electrocute it. So, you know, it was something, again, the sad part, the contract was paid in full. Somebody got paid off. The goods were accepted. And that's what the hospital had to live with. Okay? Another reason, you know, like I said, why I do what I do, because this is really what impacts development. This is a road that should have been 30% wider than it was. You know, that's my colleague standing there. You can see the two stars is the tape measure. That's what it should have been, and you can see that what it really was. There was no surfacing, contrary to the specifications in the contract. It was of substandard quality. So the contract again.
So was this not in Indonesia or what?
No, this was in Southeast Asia. Another nice.
What can you do if you?
So in this case, you go after the contractor. We can, you know, we build a case against the contractor for fraud, for, you know, first of all, omitting to fulfill the obligation, misrepresenting what was actually invoiced. So we went after the contractor for fraud, and then we brought a sanctions case against the contractor.
Yeah, but somebody must have signed it off.
Yeah. So who reports these cases?
Well, we get our complaints from all different sources. You know, insiders from the government, bidders, other companies. You know, they say, hey, I know what's happening. Villages that see, you know, yeah, people that use the road. Yeah. But to end up, you know, like I said, you know, that's my passion. You know, corruption, development. But you know, like where I started was with Sherlock Holmes, and this is just a quote from The Sign of Four. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains, however improbable, must be the truth. Okay, so we have truth with the passion and the world and the Maryknoll, and that's what I was saying. You know, I really had to think about this one last night. The Maryknoll spirit seeks to carry truth with passion to home, to country, and to the world. And that's why I do what I do. And there were two people, and I'll tell you two stories because I really, like I said, it made me think about why I've gone after this particular field. And it's really this sense of justice that I feel very strongly about. Fairness, justice, integrity. And I remember an incident when we were in my Tasufan, lining up in the playground, my Tasufan. There was a long line, and everybody's like waiting, we wanted to get out Tasufan. And Madame Wong came up, and she went straight to the front, because she's a teacher. And they were like, oh, Madame, here. And I said, what are you what? And she actually looked at me and she said, you're right. And she went right back to the end of the queue. And I thought, you know what? I was really, I really respected her for doing that. Because I'm seeing this, I've been waiting here a long time. I want my Tasufan too. What gives you the right to sort of jump ahead and go to the front of the queue? Because you're a teacher, maybe, yes. I think, when I look back now, she's probably right. But I really respected her for just saying, no, you're right. And she went back to the end of the queue and lined up, got the Tasufan after. Okay? So that really, made me, I really respected her for that. I really, made me think about what's fair, what's just, what's right in the world. So that was one. Another one that sort of made me do what I do and sort of pursue this sort of career, even though it's, a little bit unusual. I'm not a doctor, a dentist, or accountant, or an architect at Balmo. It was a English literature class, and it was Sister Agnes. And I don't even know what we were reading. I think it was Shakespeare or Lord of the Flies, one of those books. And then she asked these questions, and she makes you read this paragraph, and then you read it, and just, what does this mean? Everybody's like trying to give some very intelligent answer, like they're trying to make the relationship and try to say something very profound and meaningful, and wrong. After about 6 or 7 of all, it was like what is the answer? It's just, what is this about? What is the author trying to say here? And we were just like, by that point we're empty of any more intelligence. And she said, what is the point in life? And I'm like, oh, you have a job, serve your country, trying to say all these things. She said, no, be happy. She said, be happy. It's like, we were like, why? After we're trying to give all this, be happy. Like it's Shakespeare, for Christ's sake, And but she said that, and I've always sort of remembered that, because it was, at that time I thought this is the most ridiculous answer I've ever heard to trying to understand Shakespeare and literature. But when over the years I've always sort of said what does happiness really mean, and what is be happy, and I've had to do that because I'm married, but I don't have any children of my own. But for the longest time, for like most of us, we want children. And when I wanted children, nobody wanted me, so there was no focus on, timing was all wrong at that time. And so, but really, I realized my passion and what I really wanted to do was to have a career. And then, at that time in the 80s, women really were just coming out and taking on jobs that were a little bit different from being, the housewife, sort of traditional role. So this was something new, and I really wanted that opportunity to pursue that. And I was just so into it. I loved the work. I loved my studies. I loved, everything that I was doing. So I really, I have to say I was a lousy partner. I wasn't a really good wife. I was just engrossed in my work, and career was everything because I loved it so much. And I think at one point I realized, I gave up sort of trying to chase. I want the marriage, I want the family, trying to do it all. I admire women that can do it all. But I just realized that really wasn't me, and I really just liked being who I am. It didn't really matter to me to have children, not have children, you're always told, oh, you should get married by 30, otherwise high Ola, you should have children, and everything. And I just let go of some of those social norms, and just said, I'm happy being who I am, and now I have a great, spouse sitting back there, who's, my best friend and partner, and I think I hope I'm a better wife now, than I was to my first husband. But it was just being, it was freeing. It was very freeing to just let go of social conventions and what people tell you. Even my father, when I got married the first time, said,
you're not a spring chicken anymore, you know. So then you start feeling, oh, you know, so you feel those kind of pressures. And it was letting go of those pressures and really trying to just be happy and be yourself. And this is something I think, you know, Maryknoll. And that's another thing that I think Maryknoll is really great about. You know, that was something, I never heard the word no when I wanted to become a criminologist, you know, or study something a little different. It was never the word, oh, you should do that, you know, or you should do something else. It was always a very supportive environment. You know, that was something that, and if you know, if you could say something kind of crazy, and there was never this kind of reaction like, oh my goodness, you want to do what? You know, it was always like, okay, you know, and that's what I always felt coming from the nuns and from the teachers. It was always a very supportive, enabling environment. It was very non-judgmental. You know, you never felt like if you wanted to do something different, that you never felt weird wanting to do it. And I think that was the best thing, because I realized going outside of Maryknoll, how sometimes you want to do something, so, oh my God, so you know, like there's always this like, if you don't conform to the social norm, that somehow you're different. You know, or somehow you're weird if you don't want the house, picket fence, two-car garage or something like that. And I never felt, you know, wanting to do what I wanted to do, being at Maryknoll, I never felt that that was something that was, you know, anything too unusual. I don't, you know, like, the be happy theme that, you know, Sister Agnes said to me, you know, it resonates because yeah, you missed that class. Because, you know, this, at the end of the day, if you are happy, if you personally can really be happy, your parents will be happy too. You know, that's something I know, the end, you know, I mean, like I said, I was lucky I had older sisters, so they paid for me. So by the time they gave it to me, my mother and father just kind of gave up. I asked them, but, you know, I think when they could see that I was really happy, they were happy too.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's the best part.
So we can take from that your experience at Maryknoll was being happy.
It was fun. It was very fun, and they just caught up with you know, some of them last time. It was very fun. It was fun. I mean, yeah. Overall, it was really happy. I mean, it's great to sort of like when I came back from the reunion to see the classmates I haven't seen for like 30 years, and you feel very comfortable. You know, it's like you played together. You know, you see stories. You know. So no, it was a good time. I think it was a good education, good time. I never felt I missed dating. You know, I felt like you know, in the States, everybody. You know,
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, it's
Dating. All the lots of boys were
right.
dating.
I mean, I did this because there's no So in my fun, everybody's married. There's not like you're not going to meet someone, you know. So it's more important that you meet who you are first, and that will come. Like I said, you know, I got my puppy, and then I got my husband. So, you know,